Thank you, Rigo. Thank you. I would like to thank Rigo for sure, and Mark Johnson and SF, San Francisco State, and everybody else who uh, who made it possible for my being here. After listening to, I want to keep y'all have to be some diehard because y'all been sitting through it for a while, you know. Yeah, I appreciate that, you know. After listening to all of them, I get right off into what I need to do, but after listening to everybody, I guess one has to conclude that prisons are legal but immoral. And I say it again, prisons are legal but immoral. There's a difference between legality and morality. At one time I thought that when something was legal, that it was wholesome, that it was holy. You know, W-H-O-L-L-Y and H-O-L-L-Y. I thought it was the ultimate, you know, peace. But I found out that legality and morality does not shake hands. They're not friends. They do not meet, not as friendship. And when you consider the situation today with the prison, in what we have come to call the prison industrial complex, or prisons as a whole, you have to conclude that we may have to start refocusing our attention on the fact that prisons are a prescription, or is the prescription for slavery. I know you've heard this a lot of times, that slavery was never abolished. Well, when you consider all of the facts, the relevant facts here today, you have to conclude that slavery never was abolished. And if you think about the 13th Amendment, other documents leading up to the so-called quote abolition of slavery, you have to conclude that with the wording itself, that prison was never abolished. 13th Amendment say, what? Slavery nor involuntary servitude shall exist on these shores. And it goes on to say, except, you know, a person, one who has been duly convicted of a crime. How many people in the United States who have been duly convicted of a crime but are actually morally innocent? They're innocent of these crimes. Therefore, we have to look at the dehumanizing aspect of prisons just as much as we looked at the dehumanizing and the chattel aspect of slavery of old. Prisons, in effect, is slavery. It's slavery that they have managed to sell in a democracy to people who have been fooled by this same democracy into believing that they are in fact, that we in fact live in a democracy, that they in fact have democracy. Of course, we have a system based on the principles of democracy, but do the people, democracy is a word, what is it, a Greek word? Demo, what does it mean? People, crassy, power? Democracy, people power. Where's the people power? The people have relinquished their power to the politicians or to a false democracy. The Black Panther Party say power to the people. When it said power to the people, it meant that. It meant power to the people, not to the politicians. You know, you relinquish your birthright, people. I mean, I may be speaking to the choir here, but I need to say, again, we have relinquished our birthright, you know, to a few politicians who have taken us for granted, taken us for control, and manipulate us into every unbelievable situation that we have in this country. Prison is just one of the things, and we are here to talk about prison. So my focus, as I say, is prisons. And where immorality comes in and comes in full bloom is when you have so many innocent people who were targeted by the system, mainly because they had the audacity to speak out against injustice. My two comrades, Herman and Albert, as you know, I'm the freed member, one of the freed members. I use that freed in quotation, you know. I'm one of the freed members of Angola 3. My two comrades remain in prison. They are just two more people remained in prison, but there are hundreds of other people who remain in prison. But my two comrades remain in prison, both convicted for crimes that the state knows neither committed. All the overwhelming evidence points to the fact that they are actually innocent. Nevertheless, they remain in prison. You know why? Because they were convicted legally. And if you were convicted legally of a crime in the United States or in America or anywhere in the world, then legality takes precedent over morality. And it doesn't matter whether you are innocent or whether you are guilty. You are a slave. You become a victim. You become a victim to a political system that is entrenched with diabolical means and uncertainties that affects you, me, us, collectively. So we have to start refocusing and maybe not focus, because we have been doing this, but I mean refocus intently on the fact that prisons are slavery. It is a new form of slavery, and we have to call it exactly what it is. It is immoral, it is dehumanizing. It allows a system to be created that impounds or enslaves or imprisons. Maybe in the coming future, if the numbers keep rising, about half the population, and while the other half probably will become, quote, correctional officers. So we have to refocus our attention. I can reiterate and go over a lot of things that has been said here. I know you are tired, but I just wanted to make sure that we should refocus our attention big time on what prisons really are. And I think once we do this, and I think once the people realize that they have relinquished their birthright to a few politicians who really have no regards for them, once they realize this, I think they can make or they can change this system. There are some people out there speaking of change, but they don't talk about changing the prison system. If they don't talk about changing what has occurred, especially with the American injustice system, then they're not talking about change. They're not talking about change. The people need to take the power back. Once they take their power back, Mumil would not be in prison if the people had not relinquished their power to politicians. Angola III would not be in prison. Asada would not be in exile in Cuba. Marion Buck would not be in prison. Now, San Francisco 8 would not be in a situation that they are now, threatened with being re-imprisoned. Of course, we know this is not likely, but the fact is that they were harassed. But this happened. This is allowed. We'll let this happen because we have relinquished our power. If we take our power back from the people, if we seize the power, seize the time to seize the power. Again, when the Black Panther Party said power to the people, it meant just that. It was not empty word. When it said power to the people, it meant power to all people. You have the power to change things. If you want to change things, ain't no politician gonna change nothing for you. The people changes. And you can change prison. You can abolish slavery. Thank you very much.